In this video, we're going to take a look at how to create a basic Lambda function using CloudFormation and Lambda. So this diagram depicts what we're going to do. We're going to, first of all, we're going to write our template, which will contain details of how our Lambda function will be defined. Once we're done with the template, we will call CloudFormation. CloudFormation will use our template to then call Lambda, and then Lambda will create our hello world function. After this function is created, we will then invoke it, and we should be able to see the basic hello world text on the screen. Okay, so the next thing we want to do here is to come to the terminal and begin the creation of our project. So I've created a folder called basic Lambda function. What I'm going to do next, and this isn't actually necessary, but just for best practice, since we're going to be doing this in JavaScript, I'm going to do an npm init to create my package.json file. We'll be writing this in JavaScript. So I'm going to just accept all of the defaults that it gives me. All right, and I'll hit yes. Let's clear and go back, and then I'm going to do a git init. All right, so we can now create, let's make a folder called src, cd into that, and now we are going to touch our index.js file, and then we will create template.yaml file. All right, so we have everything we need to begin actually writing our CloudFormation template and our hello world Lambda function. So let's open up Visual Studio Code, and I use a shortcut to do this. So if you put in code and then the $, it'll open up Visual Studio Code. Okay, so the next part is to create our CloudFormation template. I'm going to paste in the CloudFormation template code, and I'll walk through exactly what each line means. First line is the format version of CloudFormation. There is currently only one version. We are actually using the SAM framework, and SAM is simply a framework for defining how you want to model your cloud resources. And so you'll see this line here, transform AWS serverless. This tells CloudFormation that the components of our template are using the SAM. It's an open source framework, the SAM reference, and so it will convert that into an actual CloudFormation template when we run the code. So in every CloudFormation template, the resource node is mandatory, so we have to have this in here. Next is the logical name for our function. So we're calling it hello world function. We define the type to be AWS serverless function. And then we give it properties. So there are 3 properties that we put in. Code URI is telling us that our code lives in the same directory. So I just put a dot there. The handler, we're going to call this index, and let's actually change this. Let's just call this index.handler to make it super simple. And then the runtime is node.js. We're using version 8. All right, so we have our code and we have our CloudFormation template. And what we want to do here is that we want to create a bucket which will store or be a reference for our template. And then once we will pass this in as a parameter to the command SAM package, and then we will deploy this into AWS. So we're going to go back to our terminal, and what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to use this command AWS S3, and I'm going to create a bucket called basic Lambda. Next, we want to package this, and I'm going to just cheat a little here, change this to the bucket we created, basic lambda, and then we will change, and I'll explain what this command does in a second. All right, so SAM package is part of the SAM framework, and it allows you to essentially use a subset of CloudFormation to deploy resources into the cloud. So this command, SAM package, essentially takes our template file, which we have here, and it will generate an output file called package.yaml, and then it will deploy our template into a bucket called basic lambda. So let's execute this and see what we get. All right, so you'll see here that it's uploading, and it successfully packaged the artifacts, which is the template YAML, and transformed that into the package.yaml. And now it says that we can actually deploy this CloudFormation template using this command. But we're going to cheat, and we're going to use this command called SAM deploy. So SAM deploy, we have we specify the template file, which in this case is the package.yaml. The stack name, let's call this my SAM application, and then we allow it to create an IAM role on our behalf. So let's deploy this and see. So right now it is attempting to create the stack with the name my SAM application. I think I misspelled that. It's application, but that's all right. And so this whole process of resource creation is important. Now, I could have created these resources in the console. However, just based on the well-architected framework for building applications in AWS, it's always important that you create your infrastructure as code. So it looks as if this has been created. Let's go into the console and see if we can actually all right, so I've just logged into the AWS Lambda Console, and you can see that our Lambda function has been created. My SAM application, I spelled that wrong. All right, so you'll see a banner here which says that this belongs to a CloudFormation stack called my SAM application. And the reason why this is important is because now if I want to update this function, I don't manually have to come into the console and fiddle in here. I can write my code inside of my IDE and then run the same command to deploy. As you'll notice, as if you're building like a really big application, you probably don't want to be using this Cloud9 IDE, which is embedded inside the console to do your work. So let's invoke this Lambda function. First of all, we can create a test event. We'll just call this test. And then we will test here. So what we should see here is hello world. All right, so that's the basics of creating a Lambda function with AWS CloudFormation.